You may have silver in your hair, but your words still hold the fire to light up every room, every soul, every morning you rise. There comes a time when the world grows quieter, not because we've lost our voice, but because we've finally learned when to use it. The older you grow, the more you realize that the world has always tried to rush you into silence. But I tell you, don't let the quiet steal your fire. You are not finished. You are not fading. You are becoming refined. And if you begin every morning with these 5 powerful lines, you won't just survive your days, you'll command them. So lean in, listen closely, because if you're blessed enough to still wake up, then you're still powerful enough to speak. I am still here, and that means I still matter. There is a sacred kind of power in simply remaining, in waking up after life has tossed you through the storm, through the loss, through the quiet erosion of time, and whispering, I'm still here. It is not weakness to say it softly. It is strength that you say it at all. There will come a season in life when the world stops calling your name with urgency, when the phone doesn't ring as often and your steps aren't followed as closely, a time when people speak to you slower, as if your mind forgot how to dance, a time when the younger pass by without even noticing the library of wisdom walking beside them. That's when you must remember this line, not as a plea for recognition, but as a declaration of identity. I am still here, and that means I still matter. Age does not erase purpose, it reveals it. You have lived long enough to know what most people rush past. You've seen dreams rise and fall. You've witnessed heartbreak turn into healing. You've known the sting of betrayal and the strength of forgiveness. You have stood in the same room with death and still chosen to live. That counts for something. That counts for everything. You may no longer carry the weight of responsibilities you once did. You may not rise with the speed of youth or the energy of earlier days, but let no one mistake your quiet for irrelevance. Let no one confuse your rest for retreat. You are still here. You are the living archive of stories that matter, of roads walked, of decisions made when the odds were against you. And it's not just that you're here, it's how you're here. You have survived moments you thought would surely end you, nights you cried alone, days you bore burdens no one saw. Yet here you are, not perfect, maybe not unscarred, but present. And presence is power. Don't underestimate it. The world is starving for presence, for people who have learned to be rather than always do, for people who know how to listen with their eyes and love with their silence. You've earned that power with years. You've bought it with pain. Wear it. They may overlook you now. The world tends to worship speed, noise, and newness, but there is a richness in your voice when you speak, a calming thunder in your laugh, a rare grace in your movements, not because you try to impress, but because you've outgrown the need to. You know now that your value was never in your title, your income, or how many people clapped when you entered a room. Your value is in your being, in the stillness you bring, in the peace that follows your wisdom. And still, there will be moments that try to convince you otherwise. You may look in the mirror and feel like a stranger to your own reflection. You may forget small things and worry that you are losing yourself. You may walk slower, feel aches that never leave, sense time tugging at your edges. But even then, especially then, you must speak this truth like a shield. I am still here, and that means I still matter. Because your life is not just a collection of days, it is a force. Your very existence gives permission to others to age with dignity, to endure with courage, to rise again when they fall. You are the example someone younger is watching. You are the answer to someone's silent prayer for guidance. You may not even realize it, but the way you carry your years gives someone else hope that they can carry theirs. You don't need permission to take up space. You don't need to apologize for growing older. You don't need to compete with the past version of yourself to prove your worth. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to breathe, but don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare fade into invisibility. Your presence has weight. Your life still adds meaning to this world. Say it every morning like armor, like medicine, like gospel. Say it for the days when you doubt. Say it for the ones who never made it to your age. Say it for the young ones who will one day need to hear it themselves. You're still here. And that is not a small thing. That is everything. I will choose grace over grief today. There is a quiet war that begins when you open your eyes in the morning. Before your feet even touch the floor, your spirit feels the weight of what was lost. Grief lingers. It is a shadow that doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it comes with a flood of memories. Sometimes it shows up as an ache in your chest that you can't quite name. And sometimes it just sits silently beside you, reminding you that something or someone you loved is no longer here. But then comes the moment of choice. Grief may show up, but grace doesn't need an invitation. Grace is the breath you take when you could have chosen bitterness. Grace is the calm you speak when sorrow wants to scream. Grace is the light you extend to yourself when guilt tries to make a home in your soul. Grace is a decision, and though grief is heavy, grace is healing. You've lost things that matter, people, places, dreams. You've seen seasons come and go, sometimes without giving you a proper goodbye. But in the wreckage, you discovered a strength you didn't know you had. The strength not just to carry on, but to carry beauty with you, even through the brokenness. Grief will visit. You don't need to deny it. You don't need to silence the tears or ignore the ache in your chest. But don't let it have the final word. Don't let grief define your day. Choose grace instead, because grace reminds you that even now, even here, there is still something good to be seen. Something soft to be held, something holy about still being alive. Some days, grief will be louder than grace. On those days, choosing grace won't feel beautiful. It'll feel like a battle. You might have to whisper it through clenched teeth. You might have to say it with tears streaming down your face. But even in the whisper, even in the sorrow, the choice is powerful. Choosing grace is not pretending that the pain is gone. It's choosing not to let the pain steal what's still beautiful in the day ahead. When you say, I will choose grace over grief today, you are telling the world, I have not forgotten what I've lost, but I also will not forget what remains. I still have breath. I still have mornings. I still have the power to make someone smile, to comfort someone else's pain, to bring light even while I carry my own darkness. Grace lets you walk forward without needing all the answers. It gives you permission to feel deeply without being ruled by your feelings. It lets you live with the scars but not be led by them. And grace is not just for others. It begins with you. You've made mistakes. You've said things you wish you hadn't. You've stayed too long or walked away too soon. You've missed signs. You've held on too tightly or let go too quickly. That's part of the human experience. Grief will try to make you relive those moments and wear your regrets like chains. But grace tells you, you did the best you could with what you knew then. And even if you didn't, today is another chance. Grace doesn't erase the past. It reframes it. It says, yes, that was painful, but look at what you learned. Look at how you grew. Look at how you kept going. When you choose grace over grief, you allow joy to return, not because everything is perfect, but because you've made room for joy to sit beside the pain. You realize that joy and sorrow are not enemies. They are twins. One teaches you to cherish the moment. The other teaches you not to take it for granted. You don't have to deny grief to choose grace. You just have to stop letting grief drive the car. Let it sit in the passenger seat if it must, but let grace take the wheel. Let grace guide your words, your reactions, your thoughts. Let it soften you when grief tries to harden you. Because in choosing grace, you don't dishonor what you lost. You honor it. You show the world that love didn't die with the loss. It lived on in your choice to rise, to speak gently, to walk forward with compassion. Today is a new canvas, and grief may want to splash it with shades of sorrow. But grace hands you new colors, and when you speak this line, I will choose grace over grief today, you are choosing to paint something worth living in. You are choosing to create beauty even in the shadows, and that, more than anything, is the mark of a resilient heart. What I give today will outlive me. Legacy is not built in grand gestures or written only in the ink of history books. It is shaped in the quiet things, in the way you hold someone's gaze when they feel invisible, in the softness of your tone when the world has been harsh, in the patience you show when everyone else is rushing. Every word you speak, every act of kindness, every seed of wisdom, these are the things that last. They do not vanish when your time here is done. They ripple. You may not feel like a legend. You may not have wealth to pass down or buildings named after you. But make no mistake, your life leaves a mark. You are crafting your legacy with every breath, whether you realize it or not. And the most powerful legacies are not the ones shouted from stages. They are the ones whispered through generations, the ones carried not in headlines, but in hearts. What you give matters. It may feel small in the moment, a kind word, a moment of listening, a helping hand, but those are the moments that outlive you. A child remembers the warmth of your voice long after your face fades from memory. A neighbor recalls how you stood by them when no one else would. A stranger still feels the ripple of encouragement you gave when they were ready to give up. You don't have to be perfect to give something beautiful to the world. In fact, it is often in your most broken moments that you give the most. When you choose compassion in the face of bitterness, when you forgive instead of holding a grudge, when you love without conditions, you are planting seeds that will bloom long after your time. Someone will eat from trees you planted. Someone will find strength in the example you left behind. This is what makes the everyday sacred. You don't have to wait for a grand moment to do something eternal. Today is enough. This hour is enough. How you speak to your children, how you serve your community, how you move through a world that may not always understand you, this is the soil of your legacy. You may wonder sometimes, does what I do really matter? Let me tell you, yes, it does. Especially when done with intention, especially when done with heart. You don't have to see the fruit to believe in the harvest. What you give today will outlive you. Even your struggles become gifts when you choose to rise from them with wisdom. Even your scars become offerings when you use them to help others heal. Someone somewhere is watching how you carry your pain. Someone somewhere is learning how to be brave by watching how you show up anyway. Legacy isn't about being remembered by everyone. It's about being remembered by someone and remembered for the right things. Not for what you owned, but for how you gave. Not for the applause you received, but for the peace you created. Not for the battles you won, but for the love you left behind. When you say, what I give today will outlive me, you begin to live with purpose. You begin to weigh your actions not just by what they cost you, but by what they will mean to someone else. You begin to look at life as a gift you pass forward. And that's when living becomes holy. The beauty of this truth is that no one can take it from you. Circumstances may change, people may leave, health may fade, but your ability to give hope, to give love, to give wisdom cannot be taken unless you surrender it. And every time you give, you are etching something into time that cannot be erased. You have no idea how far your kindness will travel. You have no idea what your courage might inspire. You have no idea whose life might be changed by a sentence you speak today, or even just by the way you show up when it's hard. That is the mystery and majesty of giving. So give with boldness, give with tenderness, give even when it feels like no one notices, because someone always does. And even if no one ever tells you, the world becomes a better place each time you give from a place of love. You are not just passing through this life, you are shaping it. And when your time is done, the love you gave will still speak. The grace you offered will still echo. The light you shared will still shine. And that is how you live forever. I am allowed to rest, but I will not rot. There is a sacredness in stillness. There is healing in pausing. After years of running, building, giving, sacrificing, and surviving, there comes a season when your body whispers, "Rest now." And you must listen. Rest is not weakness. Rest is not laziness. Rest is not giving up. Rest is recovery, restoration, remembrance. It is the soul returning home after walking too far in a world that demanded too much. But even in rest, there is a line you must not cross. You are not here to rot. You are not here to waste away in the quiet. Rest is not resignation. It is not surrendering your power. It is not laying down your purpose like it's no longer needed. You were never meant to disappear just because the pace of your life has changed. Your stillness should be your strength, not your prison. You have given so much to the world. You've raised families, held down jobs, showed up for others when no one showed up for you. You've endured storms that tried to sink you and burdens that almost broke you. So yes, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to sit down and exhale. You don't have to keep proving yourself to anyone. You don't have to carry the weight of being needed in the same way. But what you carry now is just as important: wisdom, reflection, grace. And when you remind yourself, "I am allowed to rest, but I will not rot," you are reclaiming the balance between peace and purpose. Rotting happens when you stop believing you still matter, when you let the silence convince you that you've become invisible, when you let inactivity turn into apathy. Rotting is what happens when the soul gives up before the heart stops beating, but not you. You may slow down, but you are still growing. You may not run like you used to, but you still walk with intention. You may not move mountains, but you move spirits with your presence. There's beauty in knowing when to pause, but there's power in choosing not to quit. Your voice still carries weight. Your presence still has meaning. Your hands may tremble, but they still hold the power to comfort. Your stories still shape lives. Every wrinkle holds wisdom. Every scar tells a tale of survival. Your age is not decay, it is evidence of endurance. You see, rot sets in when you forget you still have something to give, when you stop engaging with life, when you silence your curiosity, shut down your creativity, and let the days drift by like you're already gone. But if you open your eyes with intention, even just to appreciate the light through your window, you're alive in the truest sense. If you say one kind word to someone today, you've given the world a gift. If you reflect, pray, write, create, call someone, laugh, you're not rotting, you're living. Rest can be holy, but wasting away in silence is not your calling. You are not finished just because you are tired. You are not empty just because you are older. You are evolving. And evolution requires quiet moments, yes, but never abandonment. Rest with purpose. Rest with dignity. Take your time to breathe, to heal, to remember who you are and what you've been through. But don't let rest become retreat from your essence. Don't fold yourself into invisibility and call it peace. Don't stop reaching, even if what you reach for now is different than before. Let your rest be filled with meaning. You don't owe the world hustle. You don't have to earn your place every day, but you do owe yourself the gift of staying awake to your life, of noticing the small joys, of making the ordinary sacred, of still pouring out what you carry inside, even if it comes in slower, softer waves now. What you give at this stage is not less, it is deeper. You've done the loud years. Now is the time for deliberate giving, intentional living. And that begins by saying this truth every morning. I am allowed to rest, but I will not rot, because there is still someone who needs your voice, still someone who needs your story, still someone who needs your gentleness, your strength, your presence. Rest when you must, but stay awake to the beauty that still surrounds you, because as long as you are here, you still have a part to play. You are not done, not yet. Today, I will speak life into something or someone. There is power in the tongue. There is healing in your voice. Long after a conversation ends, long after the room has gone quiet, the words you've spoken still linger. They echo in minds. They root in hearts. Words are seeds, and every single one you release carries the potential to bloom or to bruise. So when you wake up and declare, "Today I will speak life," you are choosing to become a vessel of restoration, a healer, not a herder, a builder, not a breaker. It does not require a stage. It does not demand a crowd. You don't need a title or a microphone or an audience. All you need is intention, a heart aware of its influence, a soul humble enough to recognize that the way we speak into others has the power to change the direction of a day or even the course of a life. Maybe it's the young person who feels unseen, walking with their head down, wondering if they matter. Maybe it's the tired cashier who's worked double shifts and hasn't heard a kind word in days. Maybe it's someone sitting across from you at the kitchen table, worn thin by grief or weighed down by doubt. Or maybe it's your own reflection staring back at you, waiting for someone to speak something true and tender into its cracked places. And that someone is you. When you speak life, you're not ignoring the brokenness. You're acknowledging it and still choosing to breathe hope into it, to speak possibility into pain, to speak potential into people who've been told they are not enough. Speaking life doesn't mean preaching, it means reaching into a tired moment and saying, I see you. You still matter. You're still capable of something beautiful. Sometimes it's as simple as a compliment that's rooted in truth. You light up every room you walk into. Your presence makes things better. You're stronger than you think. These aren't just feel-good lines. They are reminders. They are mirrors held up for people who've forgotten who they are. And when you speak them, you become a voice of clarity in a world full of confusion. And sometimes you must speak life into things, not just people. That dream you shelved, that vision you abandoned, that idea that felt too big for your hands. Don't wait for others to believe in it. Speak to it yourself. Remind that dream you still live inside me. Remind that plan you are not dead, you are simply dormant. Speak life to your own purpose. Don't let silence smother it. There is a reason breath is sacred. Life began with breath, words began with breath, and what you do with your breath today will shape more than you know. You don't have to solve everyone's problems, you don't have to fix everything that's broken, but you can speak something healing into the moment, and don't forget to include yourself. You need your own life-giving words too. Tell yourself the truth even when your heart is tired. I am still needed. I still carry value. I will not give up on me. Speak to your inner child, the one that didn't get enough affirmation. Speak to the part of you that still doubts. Speak to your own soul with the same love you pour into others. It's easy to get swept up in the world's noise, its negativity, its comparisons, its criticisms. But today, when you choose to speak life, you become a counterforce. You become a lighthouse in the fog. You become the person someone silently prayed for. And maybe they won't remember your name. Maybe they'll never say thank you, but they will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the warmth that showed up in your voice, This is not about being perfect. You don't have to always get it right. But let today be the day you decide your words will not be wasted, that what leaves your lips will lift, not wound, that what you say to others and to yourself will be like water in a dry season. Every morning you breathe is another morning you get to build, to restore, to pour life into what the world tries to empty. So before the day gets away from you, before the busyness begins, make the decision. Today I will speak life into something or someone, and in doing so, you may very well breathe life back into yourself. I will not apologize for becoming stronger through suffering. There are some lessons that only pain can teach, some strengths that only rise through the weight of suffering. When life broke your heart, it didn't ask for your permission. It didn't warn you before it brought the loss, the betrayal, the disappointment. It simply showed up, uninvited, and rewrote your story without asking you how you felt about the edits. But somehow, here you are, not destroyed, but defined, not shattered, but sharpened, and you have nothing to apologize for. People often want the version of you that is soft, agreeable, and easy to manage. They get uncomfortable when the pain you've endured has shaped you into someone who no longer tolerates nonsense. When boundaries get firmer, when silence becomes your answer, when peace becomes your priority, they mistake your strength for bitterness, but they didn't cry your tears, they didn't carry your burdens, they didn't walk through your fire, so they don't get to judge your flame. You are stronger now, not in spite of what happened, but because of it. That does not mean the suffering was fair or that it was deserved. It simply means that you refused to stay in the pit. You learned how to climb even with broken hands. You learned how to sing even when your throat was sore with grief. You learned how to be still without being stuck. That is strength. That is survival with purpose. That is resilience shaped in the furnace of real life. And no, you will not apologize for that. You will not say sorry for protecting your peace. You will not water yourself down to be more palatable to those who never showed up when you were at your lowest. You will not explain the fire in your voice to people who only knew you before the storm, before the loss, before the change. You are not hard. You are healed in places that once bled. You are not cold. You are clear. And clarity often looks like distance to those who benefited from your confusion. Suffering has a way of revealing truths you didn't want to see about others, about yourself, about what you used to allow. And when you grow through that kind of awakening, you come out stronger, wiser, and yes, different. But different doesn't mean wrong. Different doesn't mean damaged. It means you've evolved. And evolution is not something you ever need to apologize for. There are people who will try to guilt you for how you've changed, who will say, "You've changed," like it's a crime. Let them say it. Let them remember the old version of you, the one who tolerated what you now walk away from, the one who kept quiet just to keep the peace, the one who overgave, over-explained, and overstayed. That version of you served a purpose, but she is no longer required to show up. You are allowed to grow beyond your suffering. You are allowed to stop making excuses for people who hurt you. You are allowed to live without carrying the shame of what you had to do to survive. The tears, the anger, the nights you almost gave up, it all built the strength you now carry. And that strength is not something to hide. It's not something to apologize for. It's something to honor. It is not arrogance to embrace your growth. It is not pride to stand tall in your truth. You've earned every inch of your healing. You've earned every boundary, every standard, every level of peace you now demand. Because pain tried to destroy you, but you turned it into power. You are stronger because you chose to heal even when it was hard. You are stronger because you did not let your suffering become your identity. You carried your wounds until they became wisdom. You used your silence to listen and your solitude to rise. That is sacred work. That is soul-deep transformation. So let this be your daily reminder. You owe no one an apology for surviving what was meant to break you. You do not have to make yourself smaller to make others more comfortable. You do not have to explain why you now walk differently, speak differently, choose differently. You are not who you used to be, and thank God for that. You have grown through the soil of suffering. You have bloomed in the face of adversity. You have built a new you from the ashes of what tried to bury you. And your strength, forged in fire, is nothing to hide. Say it every morning if you must. Say it until the shame dissolves, until the guilt has no voice, until the strength within you stands tall without fear. I will not apologize for becoming stronger through suffering, because your strength is not only valid, it's victorious. Old age is not the end of your story. It is the most refined chapter. And in this chapter, your voice matters more than ever. Begin each morning with these 5 powerful lines. Let them be your prayer, your affirmation, your declaration. Let the world hear that you are not just aging, you are rising. And when others wonder how you carry such peace, such power, such presence, tell them, I speak life before the world speaks noise.